Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode review. This time, we will be going over Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode 7. That's kind of a mouthful. The episode where Mimi Itachi takes on Yuga in a rush duel. And before, I get into the nitty-gritty of it, I do want to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's continues to just be a really an insane ride. Mimi, this character that you are seeing on screen, in case you did not watch the episode, or even if you did, it's very relevant for this review. Mimi is a 37-year-old woman, despite looking like she could not be more than 12 years old. And not only is she this older woman, right, she's 37, one of the oldest characters who has ever dueled in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. This woman that you're seeing on screen, this character, she is also a mother. You might have missed it. It was a very quick one-liner about how she has a son who loves Neapolitan spaghetti, and that might not have meant much to some of you, but it does indicate that her son, not only is she a mom, but her son is going to be this terrifying, apocalyptic character that's going to be showing up in the next episode. Because the next episode is called Post-Apocalypse and Neapolitan Spaghetti. And so this character, who I would have guessed is probably like in his late teens or maybe even early 20s, which probably is not the case because that would mean that Mimi had him when she was like 16, 17, 18. So I doubt that's the case. That means he's probably like 12 years old. This biker character who is seen in one of the preview images having knocked two guys with spiked bats unconscious as they are laying on the ground, groveling below him, is probably 13, 14 years old. Whereas Mimi is 37 years old. So I will reiterate that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's continues to be probably the most unique Yu-Gi-Oh! Series I have ever watched. And the show is completely off the rails, and we are only 7 episodes in, and I am buckled in for the ride, man. I mean, I know every time that I sit down, the episode is going to be probably just more weird than last week's episode, and I feel like that has consistently been the case, and it's just been so enjoyable from like a mindless entertainment standpoint. And this episode did kind of touch on some interesting things. Mimi, who obviously is really trying to make the point that she's older than she looks, right? And I can't even imagine how difficult her life probably has been. For 19 years, for more than half of her life, because I believe the legal drinking age in Japan is 18, and that's where you would assume the show is taking place. So for more than half of her life, she has been legally able to go to bars and to go to nightclubs and to go out partying, even though, it makes me feel uncomfortable even saying that given how she looks, but it's true. Legally, she's able to do that because of her age. And yet, when she goes to the bar, we see later in this episode, when she's at the bar, she has to wear a sign around her neck on her back saying, "I am an adult." Because there are probably countless amount of times when she's out at bars, when she's out at clubs, where people come up to her and say, "Hey, are you lost? Do you need help getting home?" Because she looks so young. And I feel like that's kind of something that hits home for a few people. Not really me particularly, mainly because I feel like I don't look 10 years younger or older than I actually am. I feel like I kind of look like I'm in my mid-20s. But there are people, I remember actually on the opposite side, me being a freshman in high school, I knew a girl who I was friends with who would always be mistaken for a teacher because she just looked older. She looked like she was in her younger and mid-20s, even though she was probably 15, 16 at the time. So that's an issue that I'm sure will hit home for some people, and obviously Sevens did it in a very comedic, over-the-top way, but I felt like you could kind of tell that there was that person inside of her that's kind of sick with how society treats her. She had to work harder to get to top of Hexagon because of how she looked. People are always underestimating her. When she's out at the store, as she said, old ladies are offering her sweets because they think she's a 10-year-old girl. And I'm sure after 19 years of that, when she turned 18 and is now 37, I'm sure that gets exhausting to deal with. And you just feel like crap, probably, even though she did say it was a blessing, and it's a blessing for things like this because the whole premise of this episode is her being able to fit in aesthetically in an elementary school to try and steal Yuga's notebook, because Top of Hexagon and Mr. Goha, who again, Mr. Goha did nothing but laugh in this episode. We still wait for him. We wait patiently for him to just utter any sort of words, yet he continues to laugh in our face as we are waiting on every moment when he's in the scene for him to say something of value, yet he continues to laugh in our face. But him and the rest of Top of Hexagon have concluded that Yuga's notebook is the key to stopping Rush Duels. They all view Rush Duels as this evil, malicious thing sent to instill chaos on society, sent to unhinge the incredible society that Goha Corporation has built. We even see Mimi refer to Yuga as an evil person, even though he doesn't really show any evil. She even says that, but he has to be evil, right? Because he's the one who installed this horrible program. And I think she kind of sees the light a little bit at the end of the Rush Duel, but I'll get to that symbolism in just a second, a little later on in this video. Just reverting back to the whole Mimi thing, I think they played on that whole symbolism of being much younger than you look and people treating you differently because you look younger than your age pretty well in this episode. Again, it was a little bit surreal, it was a little over the top, but I feel like they played on that theme well. And it's even shown to us that Mimi is so desperate for the validation of being an adult and being able to fit in by the cards that she plays, right? She plays all of these younger versions of legendary cards, a younger version of Lamoon, a younger version of Mystical Elf, and Kaman, I believe, was the swordswoman. I can't remember her name exactly. And even Gakuto says these are all younger versions of, you know, insanely legendary monsters. And then, of course, the legendary monster that we get, it was a spell card back in the early 2000s, Dion Quito. I was watching this episode live, and when a Dion Quito monster card showed up, I was like, what is going on? But that's also what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 so fun, because in any single duel, you could have this new monster and this new support that references such an old-time card, and it makes it just really exciting and kind of unpredictable that this wave of, it's like a mixture of nostalgia and new era just smacking you in the face out of nowhere. And I felt like that was this duel in its entirety. Obviously, before we get to the duel, Mimi is trying to bribe Yuga and company, which I found to be pretty hilarious, trying to bribe them with gifts, trying to get into their inner circle. I think Roman, I gotta give Roman credit, you know I love Roman, I think she was the most suspicious the entire time. It didn't really seem like she budged that much on the idea of this girl being some sort of spy, or if not maybe a Goha spy, some sort of underhanded tactics supporting Mimi's actions. And she was absolutely right. They basically undergo a stakeout in Yuga's house, and they just wait for her to show up, and she takes the bait. She walks right in this weird cat costume that does not hide her identity at all. I'm pretty sure when you're trying to rob a building, you should probably have like a ski mask on. I don't think you should have this cat outfit. Really does the trick because everyone can still see your face. So I thought that was hilarious because the disguise was horrible. And they end up catching her, and they end up dueling. She doesn't want to take the notes, even though Yuga is, again, Yuga is sometimes a little too innocent for his own good, I feel, and this is another example of that, where he just wants to give her the notes. He doesn't really care. He just wants to give her the notes so she can, quote-unquote, enjoy Rush Duels to the full capacity, and she refuses because she thinks it's a trap, so they duel with these reverse stakes, where if Yuga wins, she has to take the notes, and if she wins, she doesn't get the notes, which was the whole goal of her coming out here in the first place, so that was kind of funny. They duel. We see Diane Quito, the gold-digging master, which was, of course, a younger version of her. I guess even by the card name gold-digging master, probably a big clubber, a big partier, and her whole deck was just based on that nightclub life. Roman makes a great skincare and nightlife, and Roman makes a great quote at the end where she's just like, hey, by the way, if you're clubbing all night, that's horrible for your skin. And that's absolutely true. I mean, you need sleep. You know, beauty sleep is a real thing. And Mimi, like, you know, shudders at the thought that everything she's preaching in this duel is kind of a bit hypocritical because you can't have this amazing skincare if you are out clubbing the entire night. So Roman had a great liner there where she really just shut Mimi up. Yuga's new monsters, by the way, were amazing. I cannot tell you how much I like these monsters more than Seven's Road Magician. We had Brave of Dawn Lidacross, which is also the monster that was in the opening. For some reason, I didn't even realize that there was a monster in the opening that hadn't been used yet, but that was an awesome monster to see. I'm trying to remember the other one. There was one magician, Hydro Magician, which looked really sick. And then, of course, the other one was that Noble Arms Bearer, Hilt the Noble Arms Bearer, I believe it was. Those three monsters were gorgeous. The monsters in this duel were all amazing. I was in love with Mimi's monsters and her whole style of dueling and the animation when the monsters were summoned. And it just feels like these duels have more personality to them than some of the previous shows because, like, when the monsters are going in for an attack, as Yuga announces he is a trap card, not only is Mimi shocked, but all of her monsters are shocked and, like, surprised, as if they are, like, sentient beings rather than just duel monsters that are, you know, mindlessly obeying their owner. And I just feel like that adds an extra, like, flair and spice that I really do love about this show. And the dueling, especially with the monsters and their animations and their attack animations and the way they get destroyed in battle, I just feel like there's a lot more care there than we've seen in previous shows, and I give Sevens a lot of credit for that. The dueling animations have been really, really cool so far, and it's been a huge pro for me with this show. Mimi, of course, does get defeated, and as she's getting defeated, she says, "I've never seen the dawn of the sun shine so bright," and I think that was a reference to her having fun via rush dueling and not really viewing rush duels anymore as this evil thing. At the end of the show, I know we do see her, that kind of, you know, disapproves my point. We kind of do see her spying still on Yuga and co. and saying, I'm still going to find out what's going on and how we install this thing. But I feel like that's more maybe for personal gain rather than her feeling like the rush dueling aspect and impact is going to be evil. I feel like she just wants to do that so she can move up in the company. So I think her views on rush duels changed because of the duel and because of what she said at the end. It's also important to note, I know we all love Roman. I know we're all very comfortable with Roman now. She's a main part of the cast. She snaps another picture when Yuga is giving this girl the notes. And that is still a plot line that is unresolved. We know who she's sending the pictures to. She's sending them to at least Roa Kirishima, maybe more people. So Roman's actions at the end of this episode, even though we're more comfortable with her and the theories of her being like a traitor have kind of died down, I still need to point that out, that she is still up to something. And her family, her and Roa, are still up to something. So watch that space. That's an important thing to keep an eye on. But all in all, it was an enjoyable episode. It was just kooky, honestly. The fact that Mimi was a 37-year-old woman, I really couldn't get over that fact as the episode went on. But I feel like they still played to that symbolism of being treated differently because of how you look in correlation to how old you actually are. I feel like they played to that pretty well. But you guys let me know all your thoughts on episode 7 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s down below. I would love to hear from all of you. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Jorge Carrillo, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Smith620, Blue Maiden 28, Panther J, Vincent Van Der Veen, Nero, Jarrett Buller, and Aura Dragon, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Pegasus Seiya, and Brandon Gomez, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Stella Sky. Thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon, and thank you to everyone who is a YouTube channel member. You guys help me out immensely. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who just watches my videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.